everyone. How you doing today? I hope you're all well. Today we're going to be going into r/entitled parents, where people tell stories of their entitled parents or entitled parents they've come across. Now, if you enjoy, like and subscribe, and maybe leave a comment down below with some emojis. Now, without further ado, let's get started, shall we? For our first story, we've got entitled Mom Never Told Me My Medical Diagnosis. Oh boy, this is going to be spicy. Here's the story. I was just remembering this lovely memory, and I thought it was worth sharing. For context, I am 22 female now. This story takes place sophomore year of high school, 16. Around Christmas, I started noticing my back would be very painful around the end of the day. I thought it was because I was going from walking about campus all day, plus dance team, to laying in my bed over winter break. Fast forward 2 months and the ache turned to be a complete noticeable stabbing pain, basically morning to evening. Fast forward another 2 months and that pain was full on agonizing. Practically a stabbing hot poker, 24/7, icy hot, Epsom salts, stretching, meditation, etc. Literally it was just all getting worse. My mother could not have made the situation worse. My mother thought I was exaggerating my pain, and even would say it's probably because I was gaining weight and holding it in my back. I had to start crying silently in bathrooms, all to avoid whatever dismissive things she would say. She refused to take me to the doctor because she was convinced I was lying about how bad the pain was. I did everything I could think of at school. I couldn't do one physical activity for more than 15 minutes at a time. Luckily, I had super understanding teachers and coaches. It came to a point where the only comfortable position was laying down. And this was a high school floor, so you can imagine how desperate I was. One day, my mother came home and screamed at me saying how much I embarrassed her. Apparently, some of my teachers had emailed her saying how concerned they were and suggested I go to a doctor. My mother said I could no longer do whatever I was doing at school and I had to just deal with it. Well, the pain started affecting my sleep and I didn't know what to do. Another member of my dance team said I should make an appointment with her chiropractor. He worked wonders with her ankle. I unfortunately had to wait an extra 3 weeks until my grandmother came into town as my mother refused to take me. At the appointment, he asked me like 400 questions, feels around my back, puts me in the weirdest positions ever, and crack, instant relief. I literally start crying. For the first time in 6 months, the pain is just gone. The doctor then shows me my x-ray, and I think immediately I see the issue. I say, "Is that a curve?" He says, "Yes, it looks like you have slight scoliosis." And it was pointing to where the pain has been in your back. I am honestly shocked and confused. I figured it had developed over the years, as no doctor had ever said anything before. So my grandmother and I get home. My mother is pretty snotty and says, "Well, what did they say? Is it all better?" I look at her and tell her about I have a curve in my back, and it makes me susceptible to extreme back pain. What she said next shocked me. She then looked me in the face and said, "Oh, well that's always been there since you were little. Every x-ray showed that. I've always known." I'm so dumbfounded and I shout, "And you didn't think to mention that every time I've cried about how bad the pain has been in my back for the last several months?" She said, "I honestly thought you were faking." After a long time of mindful posture and a lot of stretches, the pain eventually went away for good, but I will always remember this story. For our next story we got, my mother told me that she and my father are getting a divorce in a Jersey Mike's parking lot. My parents, 57 male and 51 female, separated 2 years ago when I was 16. I had the news broken to me in the most bizarre way. So, this took place on a Tuesday, 3 years before Christmas. My mother was running errands and made me tag along with her. We went to the bank, grocery store, etc. Around 2 p.m., my mother wanted to stop and get lunch, so she pulled into the shopping center and sees a Jersey Mike's, which is a sub shop for those who don't know. She orders inside and brings the food back to the car for us to eat because she didn't want to eat inside the shop. I wonder why. She bought me back a sub, and I took a big fat bite of it. She turns to me and goes, I want to talk to you about something. Immediately in my head, I'm thinking, oh God, who died? I kind of wish it'd been that, thinking back on it. She says, your father and I are separating. My stomach drops, and suddenly I don't want my sandwich anymore. Now, considering how my parents interacted with each other, it was not the most surprising news, but it was shocking nonetheless. The kicker comes when she points to an apartment complex across the street from the Jersey Mike's and says, that's where my new apartment is, and where you'll be staying with me. Pause. She doesn't ask me if I'm okay. She doesn't explain how all this came to be. Normally, I would assume if your parents are separating or divorcing, both parents will sit you down in a living room or something and tell you together. Nope, my mother took it upon herself to just randomly decide this was happening 3 days before Christmas. She then pulled the car out of the shopping center and into the parking deck of the apartment complex. She gives me a little tour of this fully furnished 2-bedroom apartment with everything in my room tailored to the things I like. Color, theme, trinkets, my name engraved on things. This had obviously been in the works for quite some time. My father calls me later in the day, saying he had no clue why my mother wanted to separate. She never talked about it with him, and he had no clue why she had a whole bloody apartment ready to move into. Needless to say, I was not happy. I will preface this by saying I heavily prefer my father over my mother, now a lot more than ever, but my father works long hours, so my mom was normally the one who took me to and from school and other places, fed me, bought me clothes, etc. That doesn't mean she was nice to me. In fact, she was often very cold and mean because I'm not the spitting image of her that she wanted me to be. She would call me ugly and messy because I wouldn't wear my hair like hers, or I wouldn't wear makeup, or put on frilly pink clothes and fluffy sweaters. So I begrudgingly stayed the night in the new place because my mother wouldn't take me home, and she told my father that unless he could take me to and from school and feed me and make sure I'm presentable, I won't be living there anymore. My father didn't have the ability to do any of this with his work hours. The only time I went home was on Christmas Eve because I was sobbing on the phone to my dad, saying I wanted to be at home for Christmas and not in some random apartment. He called her and she came into my room all in a tiz because I should love it here with her, how much she tailored it to my liking, and I'm being dramatic for attention. But she let me go home in the end. I've been in this apartment with her for 2 years now, and it's all been a hell of a 2 years. This event sent me spiraling into a depression that I needed to be medicated for. It cost me all of my friends because I stopped being social because of the depression, and it cost me my high school diploma because I could not finish high school because of the depression. Also, my dad came to find out that she had used one of his credit cards to buy everything for this apartment, leaving him with 20,000 of credit card debt. He never saw any legal action because I was not well and he would not be able to take care of me like my mom was ever able to. Fast forward to now, I was doing a lot better this past summer and went to college in the fall. It was great for about a month and a half before I developed a debilitating neurological illness that forced me to go home. So now I'm back in this stupid apartment with my soul-crushing mother, and I really have to just come to just despise and resent her. If I can just be healthy for 5 minutes, I am hoping I can get out of here eventually. I wish you luck, OP. Godspeed in getting out of that hellhole. And for our last story, we've got My Whole Life Was Wrong. Now that I live with decent people, I'm starting to realize many things. I wanted to share them, as most of what I'm going to say I didn't realize it was like being in an abusive environment. If this can be interesting to someone here, I'm glad. I make these observations to know what can have affected me and what to fix in my damaged perceptions. 1. My mom believed me right away. So, telling her about how my life was with F, it was kind of natural for me that she wouldn't believe me right away. She would ask for some kind of proof, right? She would be skeptical. No. She believed me right away, and it hit me. I have the right to tell things and be believed without the worrying in the back of my mind about it. 2. I was spoken and listened to. My mother's husband family was there. They had no obligation to be nice to me, but they were. During dinner, I suddenly asked a question and realized everyone was quiet, waiting for my answer. No one talked over, no one ignored, everyone listened. It felt strange, like I turned quiet too for to understand the situation. It may sound weird, but it felt unusual because it's not like everyone was singing hard rock while I spoke. But back there, no one cared or was curious about anything I said. 3. House chores. Of course, helping in the house is normal. Any decent person would offer their help. When I was in a friend's home before coming here, I helped too as a guest, but when in your family, it's only natural to do it, right? Yeah, but not in the same way. I didn't feel alone while doing it. I wasn't paying a debt. We did it together, and it felt natural. It wasn't an obligation or a favor. It was just human decency. 4. My presents were liked. People thanked me, and my sister is still happy about what I got for her. It's like an emotional value to her. I remember how my stepbrother didn't do that. He just threw it somewhere, or if it was pricey, he'd use it without care or give it to someone. F wouldn't even remember what I gave him because I didn't have the money to buy him something good enough for his caliber. And SM's presents, well, I never saw them again. She'd use them as pajamas or give them to housekeepers. I felt guilty for not having enough money to get them something they'd like, but it was never about the money, actually. 5. I was given personal space. No one entered the room I stayed in. The house is a lot smaller than my father's, but I was given a room for myself. Somehow, and no one burst in. No one took my stuff. No one looked at my stuff. I was used to constantly having my grades, exams, etc. verified or my room checked. I'm not a druggie and I never lied about my grades, but still. Here someone knocked on my door before entering, and it was to call to me for dinner. Also, my stepmother would push me around or drag me to show me something or make me hurry. Here, it was nothing like that. 6. I could make choices. When I asked what I wanted, I could really answer honestly. When eating outside, for example, they used to choose something for me, then share the food with everyone to try things. I ended up with mostly the disliked dish in my plate. Nothing like that here. I was treated equally to everyone. Number 7. I was forgiven. I was used to being hated for a while after a mistake. I was never let off the hook easily, and no one defended me. Here, it's a very Christian family with very strong traditions, and I didn't know about because my F, SM, SB are atheists. So I made a mistake without knowing, but no one berated me, although I knew it was really rude once I Googled it. Mom just made a short comment when we were alone to let me know, and not in front of everyone, but no one even seemed to remember it. No one gave me a glare. No one. Number 8. Eye contact. I never felt comfortable looking at people in the eyes before, And in my father's house, stepmother and brother never really looked me in the eyes when talking. I couldn't look F at all. Here, eye contact slowly became natural to me. I thought it was just weird like that, and I didn't like looking people in the eyes, but no, it wasn't me. Number 9. Genuine care. After looking at some drawings of mine, Mom noticed tiny details. Things that seemed easy, but I spent hours and hours on, and she noticed them. She really looked. No one had ever looked at my drawings like that before. Those are just some of the things I think about, and slowly having realizations. It's just my observations because I'm starting to feel like I'm changing my worldview, but I want to document how wrong I used to be. The world isn't as dark as I thought. So anyway, if someone has a similar experience, I'd like to read too if you want to share. It feels good to write about it. And that's the end of today's video. I felt like ending it on something positive. Anyway, I will see you next time. Please like and subscribe. Leave those comments of your experiences or just some emojis to help with the YouTube algorithm. Now, without further ado, hasta la pasta. Woo!